So some of the questions that have been coming in the last couple of days have kind of this underlying theme to them, which is really about motivation. So been fielding questions about like how you stay motivated and what you do in order to be motivated. So that kind of brings us to our next segment tonight, which is thinking about love lessons related to teaching, the lessons that we love and the lessons that we learn because of them. So just last week, I had this really unique opportunity to spend almost 4 days with the 2017 class of State Teachers of the Year. And on Wednesday morning, I sat in a room with 5 of them, and I got to ask them this very question. I got to ask them, tell me about a lesson that you have taught, that you have loved, and what has that meant to you? And I wanted to share with you what these 5 teachers shared with me, because I was inspired, and I know that the way I stay motivated is by getting out of myself, right? I got to get out of my comfort zone. I got to open my classroom door. I got to meet teachers. I got to talk to them. I got to hear about the amazing things they're doing. So here's what they said. Ron from Bowling Green, Kentucky, talked about potential. He talked about taking this old room in his high school that it was like a welding room, and he created this before school program that now over 100 kids come to every morning for no credit, for no grade, just so that they can do better on ACTs and SATs and advanced placement exams. So when I listened to Ron talk about this, what I heard him talk about was potential. That when he entered this high school, there were so few students who were taking advantage of these opportunities. And now there were, hundreds of kids that were doing that. Kelly from Helena, Montana, talked about connection. He talked about how he gave his 6th graders a different county in the state of Montana. And at first I thought this is a really cool idea, but then as he continues to talk about it, I realize that the kids learned so much about this one county that they were able to talk everything social studies, by the end of this unit. So it was amazing to hear about how going really deeply into something can make a huge difference to kids. Ricky from Chicago, Illinois, talked about classroom management. And he talked about his upbringing and how his own personal upbringing was very much a hierarchy. There was clearly the father, and you listened to him, and he realized in his own classroom how this wouldn't work. So when he started teaching, he kind of mimicked this hierarchy. But by the time he got to tell the story about the lesson that he loved, he talked about having family meetings as a class. And when things didn't go well, they would have a family meeting. And he had really shifted this hierarchy. In fact, he turned it inside out. And I think there's just incredible power for all of us in that. Sydney from Dorchester, Massachusetts, within seriously 7 minutes, kind of led us through this exercise that was just based on 2 quotes. That was it. It seemed really simple, right? 2 quotes. But we looked so closely at those 2 quotes that we remembered how looking closely can help us see really, really big things. And so sometimes the most simplistically looking lessons can be the most powerful. And Sia from Baltimore City, Maryland, who's an art teacher, talked about beauty, and she talked about what it meant to introduce her students to art, to introduce them to the beauty of their stories and to the beauty of their own selves and their own lives, and the way that they would collage their lives into these pieces of art were just really, really amazing. So those were some of the lessons that I took away. Sometimes that you love teaching because of the days that you don't love it so much. So sometimes tough love is really the lesson that we learn. And I learned this lesson actually many years ago. I was teaching advanced placement for one of the first times, and I told my principal at the time that I would only teach this class if we got rid of all the prerequisites, because I believed everybody should be able to take a college level class in a high school setting. So we have this Roland, I'm going to call him Roland, wants to take this class, and he does not meet any of the prerequisites, does not have a good track record in terms of his academic, behavior, but he's smart and he wants to take this class. So he does. We come up with a contract, we kind of set up some parameters, and he takes this class. And I love him, right? Roland is amazing. He is fantastic in discussion. He makes the most, precise connections, and he's this, really deliberate reader, and just has all of these fantastic things to contribute. But he won't turn in a thing, right? He won't actually write a thing. So we're monitoring this the whole year, right? The entire year gets to be the spring, and Roland hasn't turned in anything. We have meetings with his mom. We've tried contracts. We've tried differentiation. We've tried alternative assignments. We've worked with the principal and the counselors. We've worked with everybody. And I have a day where I have to sit at my desk in the back of my classroom, and I have to ask myself, what is the lesson that I need to teach right now? What is the lesson that Roland has to learn? Because here's the situation. If he doesn't pass this class, he doesn't graduate. And I didn't know what to do. And I used what I now call my Lauren principle. Lauren is my daughter. And when I have these really tough moments, I always ask myself, what would I want for my daughter? What would I need my daughter to learn? And that helps me think about how to talk to my students. So Roland and I had a meeting. We sat down in the classroom and we cried together, and Roland did not pass that class and he did not graduate. A year later, and he humbled me. He really did. It was a really humbling experience, because it wasn't the lesson I wanted to learn as a teacher. I wanted to save everybody. A year later, almost like the next spring, the door opens, and he walks Roland, and he tells me, he absolves me actually, and he says, so I wanted you to know I went and got my GED, and I'm in the military, and I'm gonna be okay. Like, things are gonna be all right. And it took a year, right, to figure this out. A year of me to not know if I had done the right thing or not. So